folks. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk about mountaineering layers and how to mitigate the temperature of Colorado's alpine. My name is Jeffrey Lockwood, and I am the lead guide and owner of Lockwood Backcountry Guide Service. Now, let's talk about how to properly layer so we can get out safely, bag peaks, and ultimately have fun. So, the foundation of every mountaineering gear set is in fact your boot. The most important qualities of a good winter boot are in fact its waterproof nature and its insulating properties. So we want a waterproof and a warm boot. Beyond that, there are some preferences to boot stiffness. For example, a softer sole boot will allow for better hiking, whereas a stiffer sole boot will allow for crampon compatibility and may be better for inclines and edging, mixed rock climbing and ice. In addition to keeping our feet warm with a good pair of boots, we always want to have at least 2 pairs of wool socks. The reason for 2 pairs is in fact when one pair gets slightly moist inside of your boot because it is waterproof, water cannot get in or out moisture, you can take that pair off, hang it on the outside of your boot to dry, and put on a fresh pair of dry and warm socks. In addition to at least 2 pairs of wool socks, I always bring a pair of liner socks. These are a much thinner pair. They allow for additional warmth and help somewhat to separate the heat and the moisture inside of the boot, where the heat stays closer to you and the moisture moves outward. In addition to keeping our feet warm, as an extremity, our fingers are just as important. To keep my hands warm, and what most mountaineers recommend, are at least 1 pair of liner gloves, thin, flexible, breathable gloves, in addition to a pair of thick, waterproof, and warm mountaineering mittens or gloves. Many mountaineers, when exposed to longer periods of time, will in fact bring an extra pair of waterproof gloves just in the case that one blows off the mountain or gets soaked. The philosophy here is that it's always better to carry an ounce or 2 of extra weight so that when things break down, we don't end up losing fingers, toes, or even our lives because we decided to shave an ounce off of our pack in some of the most dangerous conditions in Colorado. The final extremity to keep warm is in fact our head. To keep us warm from the neck up, there are many systems that can be used. A scarf, a neck buff that can go over your face, or what I prefer is a balaclava or a ski mask, which covers all but your eyes, to which I supplement with ski goggles. So effectively, once my balaclava and ski goggles are on, I have 100% of the skin on my neck and head covered. To add additional warmth, I also bring a very warm fleece hat to put over my balaclava. And this creates a pretty impenetrable system. Even in down to negative 20 degrees with 30-mile-an-hour winds, I don't feel it at all with this system. So those are how we keep our extremities warm. In addition to that, we must consider how to keep our core warm. And the key to keeping your core warm or cool in winter mountaineering conditions is a 3-layer system, at least 3 layers. So we start with a base layer that is both breathable and wicks water and is warm. Then we have an insulating layer that creates the majority of the warmth in the system. And then finally, we have a waterproof shell. So in my case, I use thermal base layer. Then I move up to my insulating layer, which for the top, I use a synthetic down vest, which allows me that in-between layer of being able to keep my core warm, but also keeping breathability under my armpits and being able to zip down and get some chest exposure to cool down. And when it really gets cold, I bring out my synthetic puffy full jacket. I choose synthetic because in Colorado's dynamic weather, synthetic will insulate you significantly more when wet than a feather down material, which effectively becomes useless when wet. So Colorado's dynamic weather and the nature of its weather always convinces me to go with synthetic. But if you can keep your feather down dry, it is a more insulative system. It creates more heat. So for the bottom layer, I use a pair of cold weather workout pants. These also serve as effectively my emergency layer as well. Beyond that, we move to our third layer, which is our shell. For me, in the summer, it's a pair of rain pants on the bottom, and in winter, it is in fact a pair of ski or snowboard pants. This keeps all the moisture and wetness and coolness off of my legs, and I effectively take the same route with the top layer. Whereas in the summer, I use a rain jacket, and in the winter, I use a ski snowboard jacket or mountaineering jacket to keep the moisture and snow from melting into my insulating layers and therefore killing the warm insulating capacities. So that pretty much covers up our insulating layers for mountaineering and cold weather mountaineering in Colorado's alpine. I do always carry, it's hard to tell what this is, but this is effectively another puffy, an emergency puffy I keep packed away. It goes down to about mid-thigh. It has a big hood on it, and it is effectively my sleeping bag if things go downhill. It's always important to consider this when things get strange or out of control. What's going to keep you safe and warm for that day, evening, night, or week if things really break down. So, thank you for joining us today. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to thank you guys again for watching, and I would encourage you to keep an eye out for our next informative video, which is called Winter Hiking and Mountaineering Essentials. And this will build off of our layering and get into some of the more technical gear and why we need this gear, what kind of systems we need to facilitate winter backpacking, and how we can keep safe. So thank you guys again, and stay tuned.